Yes, lads, welcome to episode 21 of the Under-23 Sorare Road to Glory. I hope you're all doing super well. If you do enjoy the video, lads, please do leave it a like, and if you are new around here, please do consider subscribing. Now, I know most of you guys will probably know this already, but if you don't and you're new watching this, I have a members section to my YouTube channel, which is £1 a week or £4 a month, where I build your Sorare lineup for you every single game week. There's a monthly gallery review, a private Discord where you can ask any questions, and we have members only scouting sessions. Now, I know that's not going to be for everyone, and that's completely fine. So if any of you guys are interested in becoming a channel member, you can click the join button below, or there's a link in the description of the video. That's the intro out the way, lads. Let's get into things. Okay, so first of all, last weekend's recap. Lads, we've managed to do it. We've hit our first tier 3 reward. Genuinely so buzzing with that. We've won a tier 4 previously. We've won a tier 5 in the long form 220. But we managed to pull a tier 3 and we won the threshold from 240 limited. Honestly, I'm blown away. Like 4 incredible scores. Unfortunately, Koulibaly couldn't top it off and go all 5 green scores for us. But it's fine. We managed to pull a tier 3. What were we? 30 points from a tier 2. So yeah, if Koulibaly gets that decisive, we end up probably winning a tier 2, which is mental. But 376 points in cap 240 limited. Ridiculous. Lucas Zidane, clean sheet on his debut for us. Alan Montes, a 95 on his debut for us. Obviously, we captained him, so we had 116.4 out of him. Clerk with a really good score. Ivan Heel, the boy. Carlos Heel's long-lost cousin with an 83.9 for Andorra, and obviously Koulibaly, the only disappointment. I'll put on the screen right now the player we managed to pull from that tier 3 limited. Please be a decent card that we can use. Please. Is that Panama? Defender? Lask. Andreas Andrade. Okay. Now, if you did watch last week's episode, I did make quite a few adjustments to my teams. I ended up only rolling out a cap 240 and a cap 220. And as you can see here, my strategy didn't pay off. I thought, well, play sharper, and, everyone in the community kind of thought that Saibali had a decent chance of starting for Senegal. He was an L15 of 0, which meant that I could fit in, Monchu, Brennan Johnson, Jorgen Larson, who have, higher L15s. They all scored relatively well. I'm quite surprised with Campelat's score, to be honest. 20 AA. Monchu with a decent AA. Larson there with the assist, carrying on his form. And then Brennan Johnson with 10 AA. Obviously not ideal. But, 234 points with, a player to go would have been, a decent score to kick us off in this long form. Obviously, Saibali didn't play, didn't even get off the bench. So we managed to only score 234 points, which for me is a little bit disappointing, for the first week of this long form. I'm not sure if you guys think like this as well, but because I haven't really scored that well in the first week, I really feel like I'm at a disadvantage going into the next weeks. So I am going to put 220 on the back burner, I believe, for the next couple of weeks. I am still going to play it this weekend, as we'll get into, but it's not at the forefront of my mind, because 240 was where we got our success. So going over to the spreadsheet, we have brought in a new player. I should have put this in green, which I'll do now, just to indicate that, yeah, we have a new player for this game week. And yeah, we paid 61p for him. We've added the threshold payment of £4 into our spreadsheet. So we've now managed to hit 2 thresholds. It's been a while since we've hit our last threshold, even though we haven't really been playing over the last couple of game weeks. Our balance is £10.64, which is relatively healthy. If we go over to our club then, lads, I'm going to click see more cards. Sorare Under-23 Road to Glory. And we've got a Richie DeLate in the gallery, as well as our new tier 3. As you would have seen in that reward opening, we managed to pull an Andreas Andrade, who plays for Lask in the Austrian League and scores very well. So he's a defender. He's not under 23, so he's only kind of eligible for 240, 270 potentially if we want to move up to that, if it suits us in a given game week. I'm just seeing here, he's auctioned for £3.39, which is actually really decent. A couple days ago, he was only like £2. But yeah, he's kind of got a bit more expensive, I guess. The Austrian League hasn't started yet. They're still on their winter break. But it's a card that will definitely get use out of. A relatively low L15 considering the scores he's capable of scoring. His L15 hasn't yet caught up with, his most recent scores, like a couple of these 70s and 68s. So that's good for us. We can definitely use him in 240. And then Richie DeLate, like I said, we brought him in for this upcoming game week. 60p, lads. He is projected to start for Antwerp. He is realistically a card that, I probably won't keep in the gallery beyond this game week, I don't think. This is one of those ones where he just needs to fill a gap. He has a very low L15. He has a decent matchup, which we will get into on Play Sharper. Those are the ins. We haven't got any outs. If we go over to Play Sharper and have a look at the expected scores and start predictions of our players, we've got Clerk at the top, 95% on. At home to Valladolid, I think it's a decent matchup for him. Campos is 90% on at home. We've got Madsen away to Club Bruges. Alan Montes, our new Mexican League defender, away from home. Klein Hansel's at 90. Druwech is at 90 at home to Herenveen, which is decent, I think. Ivan Heel's at 70, even though he was exceptional last weekend. Monchu's at 90, even though I saw Monchu's been linked to a move to Sporting Lisbon, actually, in the Portuguese league, which is interesting. Zidane at 95. Suso, our sort of adopted Spanish midfielder from Sevilla, into the gallery. We've got Duhara at 60. Darlin's at 80. We've got, Belgium League back this weekend. Larson at 85. Badji, I think, still injured. Campelat at 80. And then we've got Big Rune at the bottom here at 0%. I don't know what is going on with him. I'm actually trying to sell him, to be fair. I've got a few players up for sale who I'm probably not going to make much use out of. So Terence Bud, I think, moved to the 3rd division in Germany. So he's, not eligible to play right now. As far as getting scored on SO5, I don't know what's going on with Room, but I'm going to try and shift him. I bought him for a very similar price. And I am actually going to try and sell Clerk before the deadline. Because his L15 is just a little bit too high for us now, lads. And I don't know if we can make use out of him. We would have made, so we bought him for £1.61 2 months ago. If we could sell him for, £2 odd, it's a 25% ROI. We'll take it. He's been really good for us. But his L15 is just a little bit too high for us. And he's not under 23, so we can't play him in under 23, of course. He's only eligible for, 220 and 240. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with him. If he doesn't sell, he doesn't sell. But yeah, that's kind of the thinking behind him. So I've done something a little bit different. I've trialed it once before just to see if we can kind of keep these episodes a little bit shorter than usual. I'm not sure if they work when they go over to like 20 minutes long. Let me know in the comments if you prefer the 20-minute long episodes or like the sort of 10-minute episodes. I've decided to, pre-build my lineups for this game week. I spent a bit of time this morning going over what I needed, i.e., buying the Richie DeLate to fill the gap in 240. And then I've also brought in an Ivan Toney common, obviously, just through the swaps on, the common, Premier League players, so I could play 220 again. Like I said, I'm not really too fussed on 220 right now. Like, unless we put up a massive score this weekend, which, the team's decent enough. The matchups aren't great, don't get me wrong. Campelat at home to Besiktas. Darlin's playing away to Genk. And we've got Ivan Heel away as well. So, I'm not too in love with the matchups, to be honest, in 220. I mean, overall, I'm not really too in love with any of our matchups. The 240 lineup is decent, don't get me wrong. We've got Druwech at home to Herenveen, where I think he'll be quite decisive there, hopefully. Alan Montas, hopefully he can replicate what he did last game week for us. We've got Richie DeLate, like I said, at home to Charleroi. Good matchup for Antwerp. We're bringing in Suso. They're playing away to Girona, but I do fancy him to get a decent AA score and outscore his L15 of 47. And then Lucas Zidane is away as well, but he did have the highest clean sheet probability out of our goalkeepers, which is, Campelat, Campos, and Lucas Zidane. And of course, Zidane can't play in under 23. The under 23 limited lineup is actually okay, but again, matchups are letting us down to a degree. Madsen away to Club Bruges won't be easy. Our second Jasper Darlin obviously is playing against Genk as well, and Monchu is away to Elche. So, and yeah, Larsen's at home to Sociedad, which, okay, fair enough, they're at home and he is on fire. But again, not ideal as far as matchups go. So, yeah, this week feels to me like one of those weeks where, we say, can we hit the 240 threshold again? Like, we did it last week. Obviously, we got a card from it and we smashed. We did really, really well. I'm not expecting that type of score this weekend in 240. I would like to think we hit the threshold, being optimistic. In 220, like I said, it's one of them where if we don't get a good score this weekend, I can kind of wave goodbye to any, thought of winning, a long form 220 reward at the end of this month. So I'm not too optimistic about it. If Ivan Toney can come back and smash against Forest, then I'm here for it 100%. Sorry if you're a Forest fan watching this. But yeah, if this team doesn't hit over 300, I'd be a little bit worried in the sense of, do we prioritize 220 the next week, if that makes sense? Because I think we'll fall far too down in the pecking order. And then under 23 limited, like I said, there's a couple of decent matchups in there. A couple of double A's, couple of A's, no triple A's, of course. No triple A's anywhere, actually, across the board. I rarely have AAAs, to be fair. I don't really have, good enough players to be having AAA, pick scores, but that's fine. We understood what we were getting into when we first started. Obviously, we don't have a couple of the Premier League games. You don't have Brennan Johnson this weekend, so we don't have a full sort of set of players to sort of choose from, but that's fine. That happens, and that's why sometimes you do have to go in and buy, a certain card for a certain game week. Hence the Richie Delate purchase this weekend. And like I said, I might not ever use him again. I'll probably try and sell him, next midweek, because you can't play him and sort of list him in that sense. If you are new to Sorare and you don't really understand what that means, basically you can't sell, or you can't be selling a card and it be in a lineup for you over a given game week. If you want to sell that card, that lineup will be void effectively. But those warnings come on the screen for you. It's not that hard to mess up. But, it was at one point. I think people were getting that mixed up. But you know what? I'm in a decent position. I'm not thinking that we're going to go conquer the world this weekend. And that's fine. You don't have to do that every weekend. As long as we can tick over, as long as we can hit that cap 240 threshold this weekend, I think that'll put us in a good position, especially, for the bank balance. We'll be at nearly 15 quid. And I think we could go then into the market and have a little look at where, we're probably weakest as far as under 23s go. And then we can kind of, build from there. I think we have a surplus of defenders just from, thinking about it right now. We're probably a little short on midfielders maybe that can really impact the game for us. But yeah, that all depends on next week's fixtures and seeing what we really need. Right, lads, I hope you did enjoy this episode. If you did, please do leave it a like. Leave us a comment below as well. I wish you all the best for this upcoming game week. And I shall see you guys in the next episode.